In today's video, we're doing my favorite thing. We're making over my subscribers' homes. You guys have sent in your photos and we're gonna address your concerns. All right, so we're just gonna hop right into this. So one of the things I want you to remember, we're gonna do this like budget-friendly, easy ideas, and we're gonna fix the problem that the subscriber complained about. We're not gonna try and do a whole, makeover based on what I want. We're gonna try and address what they're wanting done. If you ever wanna send in your own photos, feel free to send them in to leslie@acharmingabode.com. Tell me what your, problem is with your space, and then also give me permission to use your photos. Definitely hit the thumbs up button on this video. I've been working a long time on YouTube and I need YouTube to recognize how hard we're working over here. Come on, YouTube, start pushing the videos. So first up, we have this bedroom. This person just moved into this home and this is a large wall. This is a large bedroom. How can they make this feel homey and cozy? And this is what I suggest doing. Before I show you the picture of what I suggest doing, keep in mind that my AI program is wonky sometimes. And sometimes no matter how hard I try to get him to do what I want him to do, he won't do it. So take a few of these pictures with a grain of salt and realize there might be mistakes in it, but we'll always walk through it and talk about it. So for this room, let's talk about that giant wall behind it. We've talked about this before in these videos, but I highly suggest you do wall molding. That is just such a blank area. We need to just fill that in and make that look a little more classy. Then on top of that, I moved the bed down and centered it in the wall. Now, I was trying to switch and change out the dresser to match the furniture that I had placed in there, and it wouldn't do it. So over there where you see that dresser against that wall, I think that looks fine there, but I think it needs a big, beautiful mirror above it. And every time I tried to put a big, beautiful mirror above it, it started changing the whole room. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted you to see this. And then notice on the floor, I put a rug. Now, even though there's already carpet in the room, I put an area rug to really ground the space where that bed is and give it a little more style, and it just looks a little, classier to me. So I feel like this is a really great option. Let's address the elephant in the room that I was unable to change. Look up on the ceiling. Do you see that tray ceiling? That is dating the room. Obviously, we're not, going to do construction and get rid of that, but we're going to paint that and get rid of that extra line that's going around because that's just drawing attention to it. And personally, if you don't need the ceiling fan in the room, a beautiful chandelier coming down there would be so amazing. So next up, we have this dining room here. And she sent this to me. She's concerned because she thinks I'm gonna tell her, to put the curtains all the way to the ceiling and to the floor. But in this space, I just don't think it's gonna look appropriate. That window is too small. And so, that is a lot of space above and below, and I just feel like curtains would just swamp that window and make it look so tiny. I agree with her. She thought so also. Let's address this space over here on the side where you just have this very tiny little table with this mirror above. I think that if you put something in that's more substantial like this, just really fill in that space, give it some weight. Give it, make it look a little more, like I just said, substantial. But on top of that, if you look over at the curtains, because I didn't take those all the way to the ceiling and to the floor, it made them a little fuller. That's just a step that you can do to make it look a little bit more appropriate, is add in a couple more panels on each side, spread it out just a little bit more, and then that way it'll help give the illusion that the window is wider and not so skinny. So since we can't make this window look taller, we can make it look wider. So this is what I would do for this space. I also think it just adds a little element of luxury to your room. It kind of makes your room just look a little more expensive, a little more put together. I hope you find this helpful. Okay, this next one, this home is lovely. And she's just struggling with what she has like on the wall behind this sofa over here because she kind of wants to go more modern. And I agree with her because if you just look at her furniture, look at her coffee table, there's a modern feel happening in this room. And I think that instead of, trying to mix two styles of traditional and modern, which the stuff that she has hanging on the wall, the mirror with those two sconces, seems very traditional. And so I think instead of trying to mix that traditional with that modern look, I think we should really play into the modern look here. And it's a simple fix. And so as you can see from the before to the after, it really just ties that space all in together and makes it feel so much more complete, and it just looks very fresh and updated. Anything that I actually can link like those sconces down below if you're interested in them, or anyone else. So I'll leave those down below because I think this would be a really great look, and I just think it looks beautiful and your space will look so fresh and modern. Oh, good morning. That's okay, I'll pause. I need a break anyway. I have to tell you that meal planning stresses me out, so I've been using Hungry Root, and I've been using it long enough that it has figured me out, and I love it. And what I mean by that is it gives me suggestions on different meals that it thinks I'm going to like. And then it just has it all there in the cart. I can just pop it in and ready to go. The cool part about that is it knows that I want my meals fast. I want something that's quick and easy, and almost all their meals, which by the way, they have over 15,000 recipes. It's crazy. They know that I want 15 minutes or less, and the majority of them are that. I love that Hungry Root has the Smart Cart because in that way it gives me the personalized recommendations, and I feel like I'm wasting less food. And oh my goodness, did I discover my favorite thing ever. I have now established in my life that I have to have one fruit jerky a day. Like it's my go-to treat in the evening, and now I think I can't live without them. Hungry Root also holds their food to a very high standard. None of that icky stuff. No artificial sweeteners, high fructose corn syrup, preservatives, that type of thing. I love that it's like organic, it's high protein, it's everything I'm looking for in meals for us here at our home. I love that there's things that Jason can just pop out of the refrigerator and make, and there's no cooking involved. He loves the yogurt with the cherry granola. If you have not had this cherry almond granola, put it on your list. This is by far one of my favorite things also. I love ordering things to have here at my house for my grandkids that I feel good about giving them. These little breaded chicken nuggets, little snacks. I mean, there's so many options. And the best part is it's so easy for grandma to hop in there, pop them out, and give it to them. I don't have to think about it. I know what I'm giving to them is high quality. I think that you should go on and do the quiz so you can get your own little personal shopper and nutritionist. You should take advantage of my special offer where you can get 40% off your first box plus a free item for life in every box. So you can either head to hungryroot.com and use my code Leslie, or I'll leave a link down below. But remember, that's 40% off and a free item for life in every box. So use my code Leslie and take advantage of this. And a big thank you to Hungry Root for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so this one is tricky. Look at this entryway. Why do they build homes like this? Who wants to deal with this weird nook? I mean, you have to admit, this nook is just like, why did they do that? They could have just cut that over and had a nice big blank wall, or you could have put like the entryway table there, but no, they did that. Or you could even have put like a, like a little bench and stuff, which I wish, if you had a construction budget, that's what I would do. I would take out that nook, make that wall flat, and build in, like a nice little bench with like hooks, and could make it just so beautiful. But because we're doing this on a budget, let me show you what I think that you should do. I think that wallpaper would be really beautiful here, to where we just camouflage that nook. We don't highlight it so much. We just make it all flow together. So I picked this nice striped wallpaper. This one's from Wall Blush. It's super easy. It's a luxury like peel and stick. And I put that all along there. And then I took out that shorter lantern and I just put in a really substantial vase with florals. And I just feel like this really made it beautiful. Now, something else I would probably do different that I didn't have time to do in the photo is I think that I would change out that rug that you have coming in there and make it just a little larger. Looks like you got a pretty big space there. Obviously, I can't see over on the other side. I would put a little bit more of a substantial entryway rug there. So this just feels like its own defined space, since we have to address this nook in the room. I hope you like this suggestion. I think this looks really pretty and just kind of solves the dilemma of this silly nook. And if you're a builder out there, quit building these silly things. Nobody wants them. This next one, we're going to make a very, very simple change. But sometimes I like to show you these because sometimes the simple changes can just make such a difference. So take a look at this room. As you can see, and I'll show you a different angle of it, there's a lot of chairs happening in this room. Right over there in that corner blocking that doorway is a chair and like a blanket rack and another chair. And then we're all focused over here on this fireplace mantle, which could be really beautiful. I love the scroll thing going across the top. That's kind of a lot of things happening across the mantle. So here's what I suggest, and this is just, like I said, super simple. Let's just tone it down in the room a little bit. Let's lighten those curtains a little bit because they were feeling super heavy in this room that was already feeling a little bit crowded. I took out that extra chair and blanket rack and I just lightened the load on your mantle, and just sometimes just having, like we've talked about here before, negative space somewhere for your eye to land can really make a room just feel a lot more clean, less cluttered, and make it stand out and feel more beautiful. Okay, let's take a look at this living room. Now, this living room is really pretty. I love all that natural light. One of the things that she's struggling with is, as you can see over here on the windows, she wants some way to be able, that arch at night, she just wants to be able to close this all off if she can. And a lot of people don't realize that we can hang our curtains this high. And let me show you what I mean by that, and then we're gonna address the rest of the room also. I would personally hang my curtains like this all the way up to where that arch is, and then also you can see how the slope of the ceiling comes down. Now, I tried to get Wally's up my program, to push those curtains open so you could see the side windows. He never would. So you guys all understand that those side windows are, obviously you can see the light coming through. But that way, anytime you want, you can just pull those curtains closed and then you're blocking the arch, the whole window, everything. But yet, this looks beautiful and has a really big statement piece when you walk in. It just looks very grand. I would keep those curtains just kind of light colored. We don't want this to be like heavy drapery or anything like that. And so keep that in mind. Now, when we flip and we look at the rest of the room, this is what I personally would do. She loves blues. I think we could just warm up this space just a little bit, and I think that we could make it a little more symmetrical. Before you had the one just random photo hanging over here on the side, I put matching artwork on each side, and then I switched out your coffee table. I felt like your coffee table was just a little too little for the space, and then of course I put an area rug in to warm up the space beautifully. And she had also asked me about the tile around her fireplace and had been thinking about updating it, and I did update it to a lighter color. And I just feel like between the curtains that are over here on the windows, adding in the area rug, putting in this nice round ottoman that could be used as a coffee table, you could actually use it for your feet, whatever you want, putting in the symmetrical artwork on each side, we made a big impact in this room without doing a lot. And that's one of the things I love to show you guys, is just how easy these little changes can be. We don't have to overcomplicate this at all. So this next one, I'm going to show you a couple different views of the room. And so hang with me here. So as you can see here in this living room, the furniture placement is fine because you're going to see in a moment it faces towards the TV. Here, let me just show you. So here's the sofa that you just saw, and now here's the fireplace and here's this TV. Some of my suggestions for this room are very simple. Let me show you. So personally, I would lighten this space up and paint it a lighter color. And then on top of that, I would hang curtains from the ceiling to the floor in this room, and look how homey that made that look. Look at that comparison. I feel like that alone right there is just like more than enough. It's like, wow, that looks awesome. It just brightened that space up, because we do have a lot of heavy dark furniture happening in this room. But then when you look over at the TV area, I think that the TV doesn't have an appropriate sized space, like cabinet. It just seems too large for what it's sitting on. I'll be honest, I don't know what's like right next to that TV, so I don't know if this would work but it works in the photo, so I at least wanted to give this idea. But I put the TV in an appropriate, entertainment cabinet, because then now you have that space down below if you want to store blankets. Extra storage is always a good thing, right? But then on top of that, I tied in the black, and I don't know if you use your ceiling fan, but I thought this room looked so beautiful having this black chandelier. And then I added curtains, the same ones over on this window. So that's all we did. We added curtains and hung them appropriately. We lightened up the space. I changed your light fixture, and I gave your TV a more appropriate size, like entertainment center to sit on. And then you'll see up on the mantle, I added in a little bit more greenery and some black candlesticks because I wanted to tie all that in. If you look back behind in the old photos, she has those black bookcases over there. So if we have those, because she had talked about painting them, but I actually like them black, and I think we can play on that and add more things to it to where those don't feel like a standout piece that don't belong. So that's why I made the entertainment center black and then added in the black chandelier. And that way we tied it all together. And like I always say, a pop of black makes everything look classy. This next one is so tricky. There is a plethora of wood happening here, and she does not like it. And she does not like what the walls are made out of. The walls are made out of like exterior housing. And we might not be able to see that so much in the photo, but I can see it. And so it's just this plain exterior. There's not even any like stain on those walls. That is just plain wood. The ceiling is gorgeous. So what she's wanting to decide, because she had brought in a realtor and, they talked about switching out those walls to drywall, but the price isn't really there. So one of the things the realtor suggested was painting those walls, because let's be honest, that's not like the gorgeous wood that's up above. So I want to show her what it looks like with the walls painted white. Because that's like what she was suggesting. But before I show you that, I need to switch and turn around the room. And as you can see here, this is the other side with the kitchen. And she has cherry cabinets over there. And I honestly think these floors are beautiful, and the ceiling. And so let me show you what it looks like once we did paint the walls white. Because, once we paint these walls white, we can't go back on these. As you can see here in the living room, here, I left the ceiling and the beams wood. Of course, the floors wood. I love the fireplace being wood. This is like a lakefront property, so I love this feel. And so I painted the walls white. It very much brightens up the room. I also added in a more appropriate sized area living room rug, and I feel like that helps ground the space and make it cozy. Now let's flip this, because she had the cherry colored cabinets, and then she has the wood on the ceiling and the wood on the floor. But I think once you paint the walls white, I think it all ties nicely together. And I also think a bigger rug looks much better in here. And so hopefully this helps you to be able to see this space and how everything would look if you just went for it and decided, my dog's gonna start barking because her ball went under the sofa. Let me go get the ball, and you can contemplate whether or not you want to make the decision and go for it and paint the walls white. Okay, so this next space is a pretty little guest bedroom. They don't want to spend a lot of money. They have a nice pretty color on the wall that they enjoy. Basically, she's wanting to know, what could she do to just spruce it up a little bit? And what do I think about the furniture placement? So first, I'm just going to give you an idea right here for this bed. So this looks great. Love how you have the matching nightstands. I love the lamps, the whole 9 yards. But the only thing I think that would make that look better is if we gave it a headboard. Look how much more grand and beautiful that looks if we give it a headboard. But I want to flip and show you what the other side of the room looks like. She has a TV, a chair, and then it looks like a stand in the corner with like some kind of floral. So this is my suggestion. Only thing I would do differently is I would put that TV on a little bit more of a substantial like cabinet, and then you could use storage. So Wally picked glass, which is not what I wanted. I wanted something enclosed and he wouldn't listen to me. So that way you could store extra things in there for your guest if need be, almost like a mini dresser. And then your chair's there. And then I picked a beautiful olive tree to go in the corner, and I hung beautiful light colored curtains from the floor to the ceiling just to make this look more homey. Now, the only thing that I was, wanted to talk to you about, and unfortunately, I cannot ever get Wally to change furniture around. So I do want to let everybody know that. That's just like one of the things. If you're sending in pictures and you're wanting to know like furniture placement and that type of thing, I just can't get him to do it correctly because one, I'm not in the space. He doesn't know the exact measurements. And so if you never see your home show up on here, it's most likely because you were asking like how to rearrange your furniture, or you never saw it because there really wasn't a lot I could do. Maybe your home was already just like, there was not a lot of suggestions that I could make, or ones that I could make that I could show you a physical thing. I would have to actually be in the room with you. So for this, one of my favorite things is when you walk into a bedroom, this is the wall you're seeing, this one here with the TV and the chair. I almost think it would be better if you flipped it and you put the bed with the nightstands and the headboard on that wall. So that's just like your wapow when you walk in, because that, to me, is more beautiful to look at than a TV and this chair. And then flip it and do the TV and the chair, over on the wall where the headboard is. That's my suggestion. I think that would look the best, but I obviously can't see that side of the room. I'm assuming there's a closet door over there, but that would be my suggestion of what I would do. This next one was very difficult, and I don't even know if what I'm offering is going to be a great suggestion. It is a very large room, and what I mean by that, these ceilings are massive. I think she said they're 20 or 22 feet high. It makes decorating really difficult, but let me give you a view of the room. First of all, we have this fireplace with this nice molding up above. No matter what, look how tiny that TV looks. And I love that she has me on the TV. Thank you, that was so sweet. So that is just sitting over there on that little TV stand. And then if you flip around, you can see this is actually where the TV stand is, where the front door is. And then you can also see a better view of the whole room. Look at those massive windows and all of that. That's a big view. What I want to suggest before we flip and I show you like a picture that I made, up there on that gigantic arched window, that little drapery that you have there, that's really dating you. I think that you would be better with just a clean look, and that's not there. That I feel like that's really dating. That seems very late 90s, early 2000s. So that would be the first thing that I would do different. Next, over on the fireplace, I couldn't get him to do it exactly the way I wanted, so just, kind of go with it here. I would put an arched mirror. And of course, he took the molding away, but we know the molding's there. But put a large arched mirror like that to fill in that space, and then look how that would look with the windows over there. They play together. I think that would look beautiful. You had talked about putting the Grand Canyon picture there. You would have to print that vertically. It would need to fill in the space, and I just don't feel like that's going to be the thing for you. I think I would do the arched mirror to almost replicate what's happening over here with this window. I think the elephant in the room, and this might not work for you because you did talk about how there's a lot of reflection on the TV. Well, there's a lot of light in this room, so I'm not quite sure how you're gonna eliminate that. But we do need to talk about this. This TV stand is just so not appropriately sized for this room. And so I think you need to get something bigger and more substantial to fill in that space and not make that little cart and everything that TV's on just look so tiny. It looks so tiny to me, and it could just be the photos. This gigantic thing, TV stand, really fills in the space, and then when you turn to look at that fireplace and those big windows and everything, it just kind of all flows and is just way more appropriately sized. I feel like these types of rooms are so difficult to decorate. We always think of those big tall ceilings as being so wonderful and grand and everything, but then it's just like, what? How do we fill the space? I see that you have that ceiling fan up there, And yeah, as cool as it would be to put a really big dynamic chandelier in there, I'm assuming you need that ceiling fan for airflow because of that room. If you don't use that ceiling fan, I would really consider a very large chandelier in that space. That would be so cool. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video as much as I have. This has been so much fun. We will see you again next Sunday, and thank you again to Hungry Root for sponsoring today's video. Bye-bye.